What happens if a business doesn't file taxes? That's a great question. Great question. Now, it depends. This question depends on a couple things. It depends on what kind of business are we talking about. Are we talking about a C corporation or an S corporation that has their own kinds of tax returns to file? Or are we talking about like a single member LLC whose income and losses gets reported on its owner's 1040 Schedule C to the extent the LLC didn't elect to be taxed as a corporation or something like that? Second question is, what kind of taxes are we talking about that you didn't file? Are we talking about that corporate income tax return for the C Corp or the S Corp? Or are we talking about payroll taxes, right? There's kind of a variety of ways and details we can go down and trails we can go down in answering this question. But fundamentally, either way, what's going to happen if the business doesn't file its taxes is that it's very likely that the IRS, possibly the state as well, will file their own version of the taxes for the business. This is called a substitute for return, or SFR. This is not great. For example, oftentimes with payroll taxes, if you don't file your payroll tax returns, the government may just look at the highest quarter of 941 filings that you filed in the past couple of years and figured, let's go with that. That was the highest one. Maybe they had that many employees and that much payroll again. Let's go with that one. And the state level can get really weird, right? Here in California, if we had a client who had an S corp with like an employee in California. They ran payroll with the EDD and everything, but they didn't file a California 100S S corp return. What the Franchise Tax Board did is they caught wind from the EDD that this company had a employee in the state, and what they did is they basically just looked at our client's entity type. I forget what, not entity type, industry type. I forget what industry it was, and basically looked at all the tax returns that were filed in California for that industry, and basically assumed that this particular business did the average net income of all the businesses of that industry type in the state. Completely random, completely like just throw a dart, right? And they basically did an SFR filing based on that. So you're basically, essentially if your business doesn't file taxes, you're probably going to be looking at the government filing taxes for you, which is not a pretty place to be because they're not going to give you any of those sweet business deductions. That is the best part of being a business owner, at least when it comes to taxes. Folks, if you have multiple years of unfiled business tax returns or multiple quarters of unfiled payroll tax returns, you qualify for a free consultation with us here at Choice Tax Relief. Give us a call, 866-8000-TAX.